HR Famous is brought to you by HRU Tech, a contingent staffing firm specializing in engineering, IT, and technically related placements across multiple industries. If you're looking for technical talent or searching for a career, look no further than HRU Tech. Find them online at hrutech.com and call them today. HR Famous is also brought to you by Kinetics, the leading RPO recruiting firm for growth companies, named by HRO Today as the top midsize RPO provider. Kinetics uses its unique skill-based recruiter model to deliver on RPO engagements, allowing them to customize scope to meet your unique hiring needs. If you have recruiting challenges and want to consider RPO as a solution, give Kinetics a call. Find them online at kineticshr.com.
HR Famous, what's up? 2021, although some people like to say it's still 2020. It's like December, 59, 2020. But I'm here. It's Jessica Lee, your hostess with the mostest, with my friends, Mr. Tim Sackett and Mr. Christian Dunn. And guys, I'm excited. Here we are. How's it going?
Going well. Like it's actually sunny where I'm at today, which is like a rarity. And December 59th in Michigan, so I'll take it. I got the sun shining on my face.
Actually, I was going to say your lighting looks good. I wanted to know what ring light setting is that, but it's just natural sunshine.
Well, like I'm not going to lie to you, JLee. There's also some ring light in here, but there's also natural sunshine. So I'm overlit right now, but
all that vitamin D. What's up, Chris?
Well, when Tim Sackett opens the vertical blinds behind him, the Michigan sun comes in. By the way, Tim sent a picture of his kid to me one time. It's like May's winning a conference championship in college baseball, and there's like no leaves on the trees. And I'm like, what are we talking about in Michigan? By the way, Tim,
and so I'm like this.
We're taping this at the end of January on a Friday. I'm assuming you're going to a high school basketball game in Michigan tonight. Is that correct?
No, we still aren't playing basketball in Michigan. The only state left in the entire country that can't play girls or boys basketball because, well, there's no real reason. It's
amazing. It's amazing.
Friday night, is that what happens? Sports game?
Well, I mean, it could be. I made that up just because I knew they weren't playing, and I wanted to
rub it in.
I wanted to rag on Michigan a little bit.
There's this weird map going around, JLee, on social where it shows the entire United States in green and Michigan in red, and it's just high school boys and girls basketball being played.
Oh. You know what I always thought was cute? Michigan as like a mitt or a mitten, a glove. Yeah. They're like, which part of the mitten? Where on the mitten do you live? That's so charming.
Right there.
That mitten.
Yeah. Pretty common for the Michiganders out there to show people where they live on the Michigan. And then if you do, they have the thing where you can do the Upper Peninsula too. You just kind of do it like this. Or
the two mittens.
The two mittens.
Fun fact, I always forget my sister was born in Michigan and they lived, I have no clue.
Lansing, the airport?
I don't know.
Probably in the airport, right?
I don't know. I have to ask her.
Layover?
How do you not know where your sister was born?
Because I completely forget that she was born there. But since her husband listens to the podcast, he'll probably text me when this episode runs and remind me.
So your family lived in Michigan for a bit?
Michigan, yeah. Then over to California and then up to Washington State.
Do you know why they were in Michigan?
I don't know. It was before I was born, so I don't really know anything. I mean, it was before I was born. It's like, that's not my history.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen. I don't know anything about it. All I know is that, someone in the family had a Michigan starter jacket because there was some kind of connection to Michigan, but also I think it was those basketball players. Was it Fab Five? I don't know.
Yeah,
I do know that. I know. Is that Jalen Rose?
Jalen Rose, Chris Webber.
Yeah.
Tim Sackett could name one Fab Five player besides Jalen Rose and Chris Webber.
Juwan Howard.
Excellent. Can you name 4 and 5?
Fox. Shoot, I'm trying to think of the other names.
I don't think it's Fox. I think Rose. There was a Rose, wasn't there?
A second Rose.
I don't know. I hate Michigan. I try not to
you're right.
remember anything.
I do like those old school starter jackets though. But anyways, this is an HR pod, not a basketball pod. But I think the world of sports and talent intersect. And folks can't see the video, but I do think there was like a look of a little bit of pride on Chris and Tim's face when I mentioned Michigan starter jacket, Fab Five, named one player. So, sometimes I can get something out of the hat.
Hey, if it takes fashion to bring you into the world of basketball, JLee, that's okay.
So be it.
I'll take it.
Speaking of fashion, and then I do want to talk about something real. There was an inauguration a while ago, and you know what? The fashion is something that I care about. And there was this moment, I don't know if you guys saw this, where there were a pair of Air Force Ones that were visible on the video. On the camera, and I was like, look at that. Someone showing up, and not just any old Air Force Ones, but Christian Dior Air Force Ones, 2000 sneakers.
By the way, on StockX, those went for like $5,000.
Crazy. Totally crazy. I need some Air Force Ones. Okay, so here's what I want to talk about. We have been living this COVID life for a while, and honestly, I still don't know what is the right etiquette when it comes to being on a call, a Zoom call, a Teams call, your cameras are on, and like you have to go to the bathroom. So I wanted to talk about this like on a very practical manner. Like you're on a video call. Let's say there are, I don't know, at least it's a meeting of 6 plus people. You got to go to the bathroom. What are you supposed to do? And what is the proper etiquette in this business world that we live in? Yet we're in a virtual environment.
Because in a normal case, you're all 6 of you are in a conference room. You just get up and say, hey, I'll be back in a second, right? And just go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So when you just turn your camera off and maybe shoot them a chat message the same way, like, hey.
Is that what you should do?
I got to go shake the dew off the lily or something. I don't know.
I've never heard that saying before, but it's quite
just walk away, JLee. Walk away. There's no reason.
Well, what do you do? Is that the proper etiquette, or do you just put yourself on mute? Don't even say anything. Like take yourself off camera, take the earbud with you, and just do business and stay engaged. Like what are you supposed to do?
Well, what if someone calls on you though, right? Like you have to kind of let people know.
I think if you're in an organization where everybody has their cameras on, which is the best practice, I think when you go off camera, it's like known that you're away. Now, if you're in an organization where you don't require people to be on camera or highly encourage it, then you never know and you might get called on. But if you're in an organization where everybody's cameras on and you go camera off, but it's only 4 minutes out of a half hour or 4 minutes out of an hour, that means you've stepped away. And I think people understand that.
I've been on a couple of, I guess, probably like 4 or 5 like big Zoom calls since the beginning of the year. Cause you have like a lot of these companies doing like their roadmaps and they invite all these people. And so there's like anywhere from like 30 to 50 and like, they'll come on and say, okay, everybody, we're going to have all of our cameras on. And you're in like, then half the people still don't have their cameras on, or they'll go in and out. So it's like my camera's on. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. I turn my camera off and then just kind of do this thing. And I'm like, if they ask you to put your camera on, you put your camera on. But like, there's so many people that are just like, yeah, screw you. I'm not putting my camera on.
I like the camera on all the time, even if I'm not camera ready, not in the bathroom, but like if I'm in the kitchen making my coffee, that's where I'm at. Camera on. You're going to see it.
So, well, hey, by the way, let's state the obvious. You can take the laptop with you and turn off the camera and still like listen to audio. Like if you're really
in the bathroom or in the kitchen?
Not in the bathroom. That's what the vanity's for. You just put it right there, make sure the camera's off. Away you go. That's it.
We've all been on stage and had to get mic'd up with lavalier mics, and then you have to go to the bathroom, and you're just like, crap, I hope this mic's not on, because you've heard those where it's like there's 5,000 people in the audience and you're there taking a leak with your lavalier mic on.
Yeah. By the way, that's true though. Like in the conference call world, who among us has not like just been taking care of some routine business, and you're on a conference call and somebody calls on you, right? Toilets flushing. you have to delay.
Do you run across?
Yeah, right.
You gotta run.
Right.
You
You
gotta run.
jog out of the bathroom a little bit to get away from that noise. That's reasonable and customary, but it's so 2019.
Can I ask though, if you are in the bath, so I will admit, like sometimes I'll get ready in the bathroom and like get on a conference call. Like maybe, I'm going to do my hair, or it's a 7:00 call and I haven't yet put my face on. So I'll bring the laptop in the bathroom and get ready, and I won't get on camera until my face is on. But like, is there still an echo in the bathroom? Can people hear that? Like, the sound.
Oh, yeah.
So they know I'm in the bathroom.
Especially,
but if you put the AirPod in, like they don't hear. Then it doesn't have the same echo. It's a little bit better.
I'd be careful about that, JLee. I'd be careful about listening to audio specialist Tim Sackett on that one. Yeah, of course it's going to echo, JLee, especially when you have one of those 3-story bathrooms with the art way up high, like you do, like in your home in the DC metropolitan area. Yeah, it's going to echo. You've got that nice tile. That
by the way,
$200 per square foot.
Shout out to our producer Cameron, who has started his own podcast. And when we were in Florida over the holidays, he was running around the condo trying to find a place that he could actually record that didn't have an echo, and to the extent of like he was locking himself in closets or trying to doing all kinds of stuff. And everywhere he went had an echo. So it's like, too bad, buddy. It's going to be an echoey.
Just goes to show you, we've been at this COVID life for a while, and some things I just still haven't figured out, nor have others. And what a cluster. Can't wait to get back into the office.
Jay, question. So this came up like earlier this week with some people I was talking to, like Zoom fatigue. And I call bullshit. I'm like, there's no Zoom fatigue. People aren't Zoom fatigued. I mean, before I think you'd have like calls and you'd have Zooms and you'd have meetings and you'd have all this combination of stuff. What I find is that people are asking me to be on a Zoom where it was before it was just a call. Like we just called, we talked on the phone, it was fine. And now they're like, I'll send you a Zoom link. I'm like, do we really need to look at each other while we're having this call?
Chris, yes.
I think I would agree with you. I call BS on Zoom fatigue now. I think Zoom fatigue in July and August would have been more real, because I think people were getting used to the remote work life, and they were probably hammering out more meetings that were face to face than they used to. And I think that's kind of tailed off. I think people are kind of in a rhythm with the meetings they have. But I do agree with you, Tim. JLee, you can comment on this, that more people are sending you the camera option.
Yeah.
And not telling you whether they expect the camera to be on.
And so I think you're right. Like, and sometimes the camera is just not required. Like if you would have picked up the phone just to call me before, just pick up the phone and call me. And we're not going to FaceTime. We'll just chitty chat by phone. But where I do think there is potentially Zoom fatigue is like, we're all like on these back to back to back calls. You start except for, Tim, because he goes into an office, but for the rest of us, we wake up, I put my face on and I go downstairs and I'm I'm on, you put your face on, and then you get on and you're back to back to back to back. And I think one of the things that's interesting, I saw this article, and we'll put this in the, do we call it the liner? I'm still not a professional podcaster.
Oh no.
The liner. Yeah. The show notes, but the notion of fake commutes is starting to like come about, which I think is interesting. And it's like telling me that like we just like go hit it hard, we get on the computer, and then you're back to back to back to back, creating Zoom fatigue. And something that has come out of the equation that we used to have before is like the commute. Like the commute used to be when I listened to my podcast, I would mentally transition between, I would drop my kids off school or daycare, and it was like this moment of peace and quiet, and I had 30 minutes to myself, absolutely silent, or listening to a podcast, and like transition from mom life to like solitude to work life. And I don't have that commute anymore. And so people are doing these fake commutes, which, I think it's kind of interesting, but also like they're talking about going out and looking at the succulents in the neighborhood. What do we think about these fake commutes?
Tell us more about, like, I've seen that before, JLee. Tell us more about like what a fake commute is. Like, I get the concept you're ramping up, but how are people actually doing them?
Well, I'll quote this one gentleman who says he started a fake commute in the morning. So he says, I realized that a lot of time on airplanes was reflection time and thinking time. So I've started an hour-long morning walk. And this woman has learned neighborhood routes. She's looking for succulents and photographing them. And it's birthed an obsession that has led to her own succulent garden. So for some people, an hour walk looking at the succulents, taking photos of them with like a big obsession coming about. And, that may be one end of the extreme.
So for those listening at home, in the evening with a glass of wine, every time JLee says succulent, you have to drink.
Amen to that. I was going to say that's a lot of like references to succulents from this woman's. Like,
is that
journal.
awkward?
Not JLee's journal, but this woman's journal. There's a lot of references, and obviously Tim and I are 4 years old as we talk about it.
I mean, I don't know what the reference was, something about shaking a lily, and here we are talking about succulents. It's perfect. I love it.
JLee, I call my time like quality. I call it sleeping in and sleeping longer, and also a little me time, like reading.
What time do you sleep until?
Well, hey, that's confidential information.
Is that why you didn't answer the phone?
I'm going to say,
here's what I'll say. My son, who's a junior in high school, all of this would be like a non-factor. I would be getting up at the same time, getting up just a little bit later. And I would tell you, I would be getting up at the same time if he was in physical school, but he's in virtual school and he's a junior in high school. So he's self-sufficient. So, I'm kind of like looking around saying, it's a little KD time, like right now. Good. And that's replaced the commute. And I got to tell you, there's no succulents in my life, but I'm happy.
But, I do wonder, are you staying up later? Is it really that you're getting extra sleep, or you're staying up later and then waking up later?
Early on in COVID, I was going to sleep at the same time. I'm a good sleeper. My mom said that about me way back in the day. I'm a good sleeper. And I was getting more sleep, but now I find that, I'm going to bed later, right? So I'm probably net even now. Good point, JLee.
Yeah. I posted something on my Instagram stories this week, and I have never had a post that had such high engagement. And it was a post about how people are staying up late at night because it's the only way that they are able to feel like they reclaim their time, because they have no control over what's happening during the day because of work or family, and that they're staying up late, enjoying those quiet hours, just messing around, scrolling on the TikToks, binging out on some Netflix. And it is causing probably for some challenges waking up the next morning, but it feels like a way to be empowered and reclaim your time. And that is really neat.
It was funny. I did see something, like they were talking to some celebrities about like how they find like mindfulness, and like how they've embraced mindfulness, but it differently. And it wasn't mindfulness at all. It was what you were saying, JLee. It was like, yeah, I just stay up late and look at TikTok, or I watch a show on Netflix, and it's just me time, and that's mindfulness. And I'm like, I don't think that's exactly mindfulness, but whatever.
Was that Emily Blunt who was calling that mindfulness?
I don't think Emily. Yeah, it wasn't Emily. I can't remember who it was, like Jay-Z or Beyonce or somebody. I don't know.
Oh, Jay-Z or Beyonce.
8.5.
Which one? Emily Blunt?
Yeah. And Jay-Z, right? Handsome guy.
That's interesting. I'm not sure about that. Rich, but
Have you ever wondered what really makes a generation tick? Who gets to pick the name? And why the slang keeps changing? Don't worry. I can help. My name's Dr. Megan Grace. On #GenZ, I share the voices and experiences of Generation Z, how they're different from other generations, what moves them, and why they do what they do. In each episode, we go beyond the buzzwords and the stereotypes to dive into real conversations and the insights that matter to making intergenerational collaboration a reality. You can catch #GenZ on the Work to Find podcast network and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Okay, so we're going to talk about something real. I want to talk about, this is a pandemic COVID-filled episode, guys. We're just talking all things pandemic because, well, that's the life we're living. So Silkroad Technology did a survey recently that they published, and I'm a little bit skeptical sometimes about vendor or sponsored surveys and like, what's the data that comes out of it? Like, is it really that objective? And, is the sample size large enough? But I'm going to put that aside because I thought the survey was interesting. They conducted this survey amongst 1,500 quote unquote office workers and 500 C-level executives. And one of the things that caught my eye in this survey and the findings that they published was this. So as a result of this survey, 2 out of 5 office workers say they plan to resign because of how their company handled the pandemic. 2 out of 5. So 40% of this, population feels like their company did a not so good job of handling the pandemic. But it's contrasted by 86% of the C-suite respondents feeling like their company demonstrated some kind of commitment to their employees in 2020. And so, I think it seems like executives feel like they're doing a good job, yet, the employee population, not so much. And so what do you guys think first of this, like 40% want to quit their job because of how their company is handling the pandemic? Like, is that legit? How do we feel? Tim looks skeptical.
Well, my original question was, thought was, like, how many of those like would already want to quit their job regardless of what happened, right? Just like they hate their job and they want to quit. Versus, yeah, now I want to quit because I think they did a crappy job. Other shout out to like Silkroad, because if we would have done a death pool on HR tech companies and you would have asked me if Silkroad was still a company, I would have voted they were dead. I didn't know they were still even a company.
Trucking along.
And when you first sent me the survey, I remember a time, I think Katie, weren't you and I like at a sum total Miami like conference one time that they put on, and then I thought it was Silkroad, and I'm like, wait a minute, it's not Silkroad, it was sum total. But either way, I thought they were both dead. So
shout out to Silkroad tweets on Twitter.
Shout out to Silkroad. Maybe you have your marketing people contact us. Anyways, I think 40% seems really, really high, but it also kind of maybe just goes back to people just are so sick of the pandemic and they just want to blame somebody. So maybe they're blaming their leadership team.
Yeah.
So when I think of Silkroad, I think of the online marketplace on the dark web.
Yeah, you do. For sure.
And so that's a tough one from a branding perspective. I guess I'm not keynoting their next conference, by the way. Spoiler alert. But by the way, JLee, have you read about I'm going to come back to your study in just a second. Have you read any books about the online marketplace on the dark web with Silkroad?
I've read some articles, but actually one of my biggest questions is, where is the dark web and how does one access it? I don't even know, how do you get there? How does one get there? It's so,
I'm the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it an app?
I want to know too, because there's things on the dark web that I probably want to buy.
Or you just want to see, are you on the dark web? Is your name, social security number, credit card out there?
Yeah.
How do you get to the dark web?
Hey, if there's a listener out there that knows how to, the directions to the dark web, shoot JLee and I an email. We're interested.
Make sure it's a short link, by the way. They hate long links. So, JLee, the book you need to read is called American Kingpin, The Epic Hunt for the Criminal Mastermind Behind Silkroad. It's like top 3 book that I've ever read. And I read a little bit. It's an unbelievable book about this guy from Austin who started Silkroad, the dark web marketplace, as a 25-year-old. You have to read it. By the way, his COO, who he'd never met in person because of the dark web, his handle on Silkroad was Variety Jones.
Variety Jones.
I've heard that.
Which is enough to read it. But back to your study.
The handle of the founder of the Silkroad, Dread Pirate Roberts.
Right.
That's the name.
DPR. It's an unbelievable book. Talks about the search for him. I've referred it to 4 or 5 people. I've actually bought it for a couple people. It's just an amazing book. All the way back to Silkroad Human Capital. 40%. Do we really know that many companies that have just absolutely fumbled how they figured out this whole thing with employees, whether they were sending them home, whether they were like figuring out safety for the folks that have to be there. Got to tell you, man, I think it's a lot of whiners. All this stuff is really tough.
Katie, I think you're right. If you take a look at all the media crap that happens, right? I mean, if a CEO picks his nose wrong at a conference, like it's like front page of CNN. For the most part, we haven't really seen a lot of media around companies that screwed up COVID, right? We haven't really seen a lot of that. Like where they just go, because there's been so many other things that you get screwed up, whether that was political or social or anything, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you're upset like with your life during COVID, I get that. And I think how items are written on some of these things can like call like more people into it. But JLee, I just don't know that many companies that really dramatically underperformed based on the challenges.
I tend to agree with you on that. I think the other thing is, for office workers of the world, if you are listening and if you happen to answer this survey or, have similar feelings, I just also feel like, can you cut us some slack? Like, have we ever been through this before? We've not been through a pandemic like this, in 100 years. And even 100 years ago, it wasn't the same thing. We didn't have to deal with Zoom and Teams and all of that when it was Spanish flu time. And I just feel like, I'd like a little empathy on the part of office workers, some, understanding around like, we don't know what we're doing. No one's had to go through this before, and like cut us some slack. So that is one of my asks of the office workers of the world. And then the other thing I think is part of this is like, the grass is always greener. Like, of course you think that like that other company is doing something better because they gave their employees $25 to buy some office supplies, whereas you got nothing. And so grass is always greener.
Hey, for 2020 and what kind, how much of a shit show it was, I really think like HR stepped up to the plate in a pretty big way.
Totally.
Like, I mean, it was the one year where all of a sudden people were just kind of like all like kind of chaos happened, and HR was like, what do we do? And like stuff just, kind of took care of it. And I'm like, I was kind of really pleasantly surprised, like with the HR like industry in general of how they stood up to the plate for 2020. It was one of the positives I took away from the year from that standpoint. So
I think HR has stepped up to the plate. And like the other thing is, I think for a lot of companies, like HR has had one of the hardest jobs ever. Like I know for myself, probably the most challenging year of my career ever. And like HR people have had it rough. Like we need to have a, hug an HR professional day once all the vaccines are distributed.
If we just knew somebody that was a hugger in HR, that would be helpful.
Somebody who could
wrote the rules and guide
the workplace of today about how hugging can happen during a pandemic. Hey, by the way, I agree with everything both of you said. I guess I started some of that. I just don't know a lot of companies that are underperforming. So I would say 3/4 of those people, they need to grow up, right? I think their expectations aren't properly managed unless that CEO of that company is a Republican. Then we just got to get that guy.
It's shocking that we're on a podcast with 3 HR people that we're all patting each other on the back of how great HR is and how crappy our employees are.
I know.
You got whiny employees. Tell them to shut up. Come on.
Good job, HR people. We are the best. I agree. No, but you know what I do? Like on a very practical note, like if people do feel like their companies have not been handling this well, part of me wonders, like, is there a narrative and communication that companies should be doing and having around like, this is hard. What we are going through is hard. It's unprecedented, to use that very common word that's being used. And, we're trying our best and we're navigating, but a lot of it is gray. So we appreciate your graciousness, your patience as we like get through this together. But like, no one's been through this before. And I wonder how many companies are, articulating things in that way, though, as opposed to like, we have this plan, we're doing things, we know what we're doing, and we're doing it perfectly. Like, I just think some humility in this situation is something I wonder about, whether or not that would help.
So it's leverage, right, JLee? So if you think about communications, to your point, in any situation where bad stuff happens, 20% of the world just think about the bell curve of life. 20% of the world is going to overperform. They're going to do things without you asking. 20% of the world is going to struggle, and it's the middle ground. So to your point, JLee, and Tim, you can jump in here. I feel like that means we've underperformed in terms of setting the expectation, whether it's HR comms, whether it's programs we have in place and communicating that. We probably underperformed to, for lack of a better word, guilt some of those people into better understanding how tough this is and how good most companies are actually doing.
I will say the one part that I thought that we started off really strong, and I say we as in HR leadership, communications across the board, we started out super strong. Like we're having like the Friday like town halls with the CEO, but like quickly, like within like 6 to 8 to 12 weeks, all of that, we started to go, they don't want to hear from us anymore. We don't. And what happened was we don't know what we want to talk about anymore. Or we felt like people were saying the same thing over and over. And so we just kind of stopped it and it got less and less and less. And the reality is I thought that cadence should have stayed the same. It's like, it's okay if you're the CEO, it's the 12th week in a row that you're doing the Friday, whatever, and you literally have nothing to say. It's okay. Have other people say stuff, right? Have them ask questions, talk about the Netflix show you watched last night. Who cares? But do not stop the cadence. And I thought we just stopped it because we thought people were bored. And I'm like, wrong thing to do.
Well, they were bored, but it's it's like the 13th week where you're saying, hey, gang, great to see you today. Great to see everybody on here. See a couple people with their cameras off. I'm assuming they went to the bathroom. And so 13th weekend, business doesn't look like it's recovering. But I will say this to both of your points, JLee's communication point and what Tim just said, it becomes different features, right? It becomes different features of the meeting. You've got to figure out a way to frame up something that's empathetic to the situation that kind of celebrates the people that are really like responding to everything in a positive way. So
what this points out for us is that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. This whole thing is a marathon. And speaking of a marathon, so, the reality is 13 weeks in, you're grasping for straws? Or like, what are you going to talk about next? But we are coming up soon on this being about a year that we've been in this situation, which is so freaking wild. But someone on my team was joking. She's like, what are we doing to mark the 1-year anniversary of being in a pandemic and lockdown? And she was like, are we celebrating? Like, how are we going to, what are we going to do? And she was half joking, but I was also like, oh my gosh, should we do something? And then she said, she had the best idea. She's like, maybe we should get matching sweatpants or joggers, because that's what we're wearing, and that should be our gift to each other. We're wearing them every day. Let's all get matching joggers. And I just thought some companies, especially after listening to this podcast, are going to go out and start planning for how are we going to commemorate this 1 year of being in lockdown. So I want the ideas, Chris and Tim. I want all the bad ideas, the worst ideas you can think of. What will companies do to celebrate 1 year? Give them to me.
Quick story. You talked about joggers, whatever you've got. A person at Kinetics who will remain unnamed, I was talking to this individual on the phone, and the husband walked by in a onesie.
No.
Yes. And it was from his company. It was a tech company. So I think that's the gift. It's a onesie. I know Sackett would wear it. He'd probably wear it in the office.
Probably. Yeah. I mean,
why not?
I probably wore worse. Right. So yeah, gosh, JLee, there's a part of me that goes, hey, for all those people who have lost, people to COVID, there's a dual kind of thing, right? Taking a look back at the year and, celebrating those lives would be one way to kind of do that. At the same time, we also just want to have fun as coworkers together and having to go through this experience together. And whether that, and I don't think alcohol is the answer, because there's probably way too much of that over the year. Maybe it's we're going to dry you out for a week or something and not have a drink. But that's interesting. I don't have, I wish I had a really good idea for you, but I'm going to think about that now, because now I have to go back and plan my 1 year pandemic celebration for my company. Jeez.
branded koozies, something like that says 1 year lockdown. No. Chris, what are you guys going to do? 1 year?
Well, I mean, I think it's a good question, right? And I'd love to have fun. Like, I'm not the king of it, but I'm a supporter of tongue-in-cheek, like celebrations that have some fun with it. One of the things I just thought about, JLee, and I think this is true, is based on the deaths in America and all the stuff. I think, it's like you gotta commemorate it, but then if you try and celebrate it and have some fun and lighten the mood, you could also be held accountable for that. And I mean that in all sincerity. So it's a tough thing, because I think the three of us would brainstorm some stuff and say, hey, thank you for making it through this year. And then invariably does the 10% of the world that really wants to be critical of anything in this COVID era try and take you down because of that.
I will tell you the most successful things I've seen that people have done with this kind of virtual kind of remote world has been like unboxing stuff, right? So if you could put together like a really cool kind of unboxing thing and then unbox together, or even like we can't have lunch together. So I'm either going to send you all the same lunch, like through Uber Eats or something, or better yet, I'm going to get a chef to come on. I'm going to send you all the raw ingredients and we're going to cook together and make the same lunch together. Like, I think that would be cool.
Ooh, I like that. I saw someone, it was like a service where it was learn how to make a really fancy charcuterie board together, and they got shipped ingredients, and then you had this beautiful charcuterie board. But Chris, just to remind you, it's not going to be 10% who think you messed up this celebration. It's actually going to be 40%.
That's right.
40% will disagree with your handling of the celebration. So get ready for that. Three out of 5 will approve, though.
Right.
3 out of 5.
Understood.
You guys, I just have to tell you as we close out, my brother-in-law, like, he loves our podcast and he listens, and he hadn't heard of Gary Vee until the podcast. So he went down a rabbit hole. And so what he brought to the surface for me that I'm now very intrigued by is Gary Vee being like single-handedly the, person who is driving increased value in like old baseball cards, sports cards, etc. Like, Gary Vee, good job. My husband's got a bunch of old stuff we're going to dig out, and maybe we'll make some money off of it and be able to send our kids to college. So thank you. And here I am purposefully bringing him up again because, like, we're waiting, Gary. Like, I know you're going to ping me on LinkedIn saying, thanks for mentioning me again. And then I'm going to say, come on the show, man. Come on.
JLee, I know we got to close out. I got one quick thing about Gary Vee. So Gary Vee has a text community. You can sign up and get daily or every other day text from him. And I just started in the last couple of days, and they're very empathetic. It's like off the old brand from Gary Vee. It's very like, JLee, it's not personalized, by the way, but it'll come in and say, you've got this, yada, yada, yada. Let's do this. It's awesome. You're awesome. It's very empathetic.
You survived the week.
So I've done it. I did a test, and I just and Sackett was one of these. I just cut and paste it, like whatever he sends, I cut and paste it. And I send it to 5 people on my text string, and they have no clue what's going on.
I know my reaction back to him was like, I'm confused by this message.
You know what? New business line, Christian Dunn coaching via text. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you, JLee. It's so good of you to give me a business idea.
I love it. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure. 1 year anniversary coming up. We're going to have to come up with something good for this podcast. 1 year of being together in lockdown. So can't wait for that. And I know you guys will look forward to it as well. I'm Jessica Lee for my friends, Tim Sackett and Chris Dunn. This is HR Famous, and we are out.